take us in 3, 2, and welcome, guys. Hopefully audio and video is working here. We are live here with Asmaa Methqal and Carolyn Colleen. My name is Hector Santiesteban, and we're going to be talking and having a great conversation with Asmaa today about your emotions and how to master emotions. And I know that this is, for me, a very timely conversation because there's been a lot of personal things coming up for me. And I know that everybody, given the world's circumstances, is all kind of going through their own, challenges. And so we're going to get into a little bit of Asmaa's story, how she's been helping a lot of women go out and create transformations for themselves and for their business, and how emotions and your emotional intelligence and your skill level has a lot to do with your success. And so before we do that, I want to make sure that I mention we have a One Life Roadmap Journal free download. So if you guys want to go through everything in the One Life, you want to walk through your whole One Life roadmap, go to onelifefullylive.org and you can download the journal. It'll walk you through setting up your vision. It'll help you to dial in your finances, get your relationships on track, and also take care of your wellness. So that's at onelifefullylive.org. There's a little banner at the top and you guys can get that and download that for free. All right, so let's get into today. And Asmaa, the title of the talk is mastering your emotions so that you can create your ideal life. And you all have done quite a few things. You've founded your own business called Fire and Flow, where you help women accelerate their business. You've written your own book, which will give the One Lifers an opportunity to download a little later, called The Rise of the Feminine Power, the new way of leading life and business. And so amidst all those things, people's emotions and people's that seems to be a theme that people are trying to conquer, and it seems to be something that's been the key to helping your community kind of unlock their transformation. So catch us up on a couple of things. First, catch us up on you and who Asmaa is and how you got here and how you got into, creating these incredible programs and communities for women. And then talk a little bit about Fire and Flow and what that's doing. I'd imagine specifically for women, but I'd imagine it can apply to everybody.
Definitely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me in this beautiful community. Well, to share my story, I want to take you back to when I was 16 and 17 years old and I was living in Morocco. And during that time, it was very interesting how I was this rebel and I was proud to be this rebel. Like I had all these emotions of anger and just like wanting to change the society and wanting to change how people were thinking. And I was just having all that emotions within myself. I didn't know how to use it, but just to be always angry, right? And always dress up like masculine. And because when I was born in Morocco and the way the culture was then, it was really like women were only here to have babies or to cook, right? And I was against that. So there was something, a fire within myself that was just rebelling against that. And it is quite interesting, like when you experience that at an early age and you just have this deep, strong, fiery emotion within yourself and you just have no idea what to do with it. And nobody's teaching you how to deal with it and how to use it to your own advantage and how to alchemize it in a way that can serve you. And so from all that experience that I've had in Morocco, from being shut down, not able to speak my truth, being having to act a certain way, that I realized later on in my life that I was wearing this masculine shield that was just like putting everything that was feminine and everything that made me who I am, like shut down and put down, because I knew that was not valued and it was more a weakness for me than a strength. And so here I am wearing this shield with all that anger and frustration that I had with me that allowed me to have a lot of success. Like the time that I got into Canada, I was able to be really successful when I lived in Montreal, and then I came all the way to Victoria and I started all over again. So I had that fire within myself, while at the same time having that voice behind me, like in my head saying, you got this, you don't need anyone. You got this, you don't need anyone. But then 2 years ago, when I started like looking deep within myself and realizing, okay, great, something is wrong here. I am successful. There's money in the bank. Everything I wanted to create in my life, I created it, but I am not happy. So I realized there was a difference between being successful and being fulfilled. And I realized I was not fulfilled. And so that took me in this down road path to go and uncover myself and go and date myself and go learn who I am and what I want and what I want to create. And it was through that discovery that I discovered that the whole way I was leading with my emotions since 16 years old with that anger, it was my way of dealing with trauma, right? That trauma of like not being accepted, not being wanted for who I am, for not belonging, that I had to be someone else. And so like learning that like at the age of 40, right, gets you to like, oh my God, like if I knew how to master my emotions at an early age, or if I got the opportunity to just be aware of it, because most of us are not aware of it, then like my life would have been completely different and I would have been able to create my ideal life sooner, or what I thought was my ideal life, like really getting through to what I really wanted to build and create. So that's why for me, connecting to our emotions is key, because a lot of us, especially in our culture now, it's all about doing, but not about feeling. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but they don't take the time to feel. And taking the time to slow down and feel will really make a big difference, because you're starting to create that self-awareness with yourself, which is one of the pillars of emotional intelligence.
Yeah. It's interesting that you talk about fulfillment and you talk about having success and then realizing, getting to the top of the quote unquote mountaintop and realizing that that's not actually what you were looking for. And I feel like we've, every guest that we, to a T, every guest that we talk to on these shows has this journey, whether it was intuitive or whether they went on this journey kind of by accident, where they are looking for fulfillment. And Asmaa, we've created something called the fulfillment triangle here at One Life, and for almost 10 years now, we've been helping people basically get on their path, find their path to fulfillment. And we started off working with those who were seeking it. A lot of those in the professional development, space, and people who were reading books and attending masterminds, those types of things. And what we realize is by no means, but undoubtedly those people need that. But where this information and where specifically our fulfillment triangle and what you're talking about and emotional intelligence and emotional mastery is the people who don't get that, the people who are at the bottom, the people who are struggling to find their vision, finding their hope. And so we've been recently taking these teachings into what we think the people who need it the most, the people in shelters and unhomed shelters, the people who are trying to get back on their feet, the people who really are kind of looking for this path. So I'd love for you to share, our components of the fulfillment triangle are where someone's talents, what they're good at, their passions, what they love to do, meets the opportunity that's out there.
Mhm.
And so I'd love for you to kind of talk about your journey with a little bit more about how you relied on what you were good at, you relied on what your talents were, and you were able to utilize your passions, which I'm sure your emotions played a role into that. And then what was it like, looking for your place, looking for an opportunity? I mean, I was looking at you kind of created your own job, if you will. So take us through what that journey was like, and I'd love to know, how you were able to overcome the fear or the doubt or the insecurity or whatever that kind of internal, roadblock is that comes up for everybody. How did you overcome that to create what you've created now?
Yeah, definitely. I love that triangle, and I love that the teaching with One Life and how it really connects deeply with what I'm doing as well. Um, well, to answer your last question, it's an ongoing journey, right? Like the obstacle and the struggles are always there. We just become more emotionally fit to be able to deal with them and handle them better, that not let them put us down, but just like maybe put us a little bit like on halt and then go back again, right? So that's ongoing journey, because we are in this like growth, right? And so every time we will have new things that will come our way that will make us better. Like every different next level of our life will demand a different level of who we are. And so like it's that ongoing growth, right? But going to your first question, um, what I've one of my survival mechanism when I was in Morocco is that I needed to be really good at school. And so any course I was taking, whether I hated it or I loved it, I was getting A's. Well, They're like they call you out of 20, so it's like 14 out of 20 or 16 out of 20, things like that. But like I always wanted to be the best. I That was my golden ticket to get away and then to be able like to live in France or in Canada or in the US. Like at that time, that was the only thing I wanted. I don't want to live in this society. I'm just gonna rebel all the time. I need to go somewhere where I feel I belong. And as soon as I arrived to Montreal, I was like, oh, this is home. Like it felt so good and so amazing. So it was so interesting because that every time I think about that specific moment, I will always remember how my body was feeling in that moment. So there was always that awareness that your body knows before you know, but like I was not aware of it then, right? And so from that journey in Morocco to coming to Canada, what ended up happening and what I realized for myself is I was leading my whole life from my zone of excellence. And so I had a very successful marketing and branding agency, and I was excellent at it, right? And a lot of people work from their zone of competence versus their zone of excellence. But for marketing and branding, for everything that I was creating, I knew that. And when I got to that moment of success versus fulfillment, like that was the question. I was like, yeah, I'm good at this, but I'm not loving it. Like, I'm not enjoying it. And so, and I am very sensitive, like my energy and my emotions are really key for me. Like, and so I was feeling depleted every time. And it was like in that moment that I was like, okay, well, something better is out there. And then it was in that moment that I need to take the biggest risk of my life to like kind of close or slow down my agency to go in a journey to discover who I am. Everybody around me said, you're crazy. Some friends like Karen, like, go and do it, right? But like the people that didn't understand, they're like, what are you doing? Like you created this, you got to this level, you have your clients, you're busy for the next 10 years. What are you doing? Are you crazy? And I was like, yeah, maybe I am crazy, but it's the good crazy because I need to do this for me. Because if I do the rocking chair exercise when I'm 90, I'll be like, would have my life been have been different if I chose to follow my heart and maybe uncover what was my purpose, what I'm supposed to be doing in this life. And so I decided to go and take on that journey without no expectation of what could happen. So that was a big leap of faith, that it was faith in me and trusting that I will get to where I want to get while I give it the time, not like having an agenda and a deadline, but just trusting whatever needed to unfold. And so what happened throughout that journey that was very interesting to me was I was in a mastermind with other women, Go Abundance women, and I ended up being invited to dance in front of everybody and just like offer them this dance. And I was like, no, I dance for me, like in private. Like I don't dance on or lead a dance. Like I'm not a teacher. And they're like, can you just please do that for us? Like you're a great dancer. Can you just do it? So I ended up just leading this dance. And it's something that comes naturally to me. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a dance choreographer. But then all the women came to me at the end, like, oh my God, you teach this? I felt connected to my body. I felt connected to my sensuality. I felt something different. Like I enjoyed it. Like, and I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, how could this help you? And so it was that moment that I uncovered that I already had this genius of dancing and allowing people to feel more through their body and connecting it to practical things that I've done my whole life and then bringing all of that together. So I was able to bring my talent that I've built from marketing and business and facilitation and appreciative inquiry and emotional intelligence, and then using my own zone of genius, which is like empathy and like feeling what people are really feeling and bringing the dance and all of that and merging the two together. And then I was like, okay, I know that this is needed. Where is it? And then those women gave me a sign of the opportunity that I didn't see before, because dance for me was just a fun thing I was doing on the side. I never thought that could be a job, right? And then so from those three and me being able to be aware of the signs and be aware of how my body was feeling when I was creating that, that what was able to help me create and launch Fire and Flow, right? And so it was true, like believe in your fire and what you have within you and your drive to succeed and to arrive to where you need to go. but at the same time surrender to yourself and to your own flow and connect to your emotion and to your body and what it wants to tell you, and like connect those two together, be able to, for you to create that harmony between your fire and your flow, for you to be able to see, visualize, and create that ideal life or that ideal job that you are meant to be doing here. And so I hope that helped answer the question, Hector.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to honor you for taking that risk and setting that example and being being the channel through which those gifts were given to those women. And because I know it's a big risk, and so I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
I also want to honor our listeners, both live and if you're catching this on the recording. If you guys have anything, I'd love to know what resonated with you from Asma's story, because I think that we all can kind of, find a part that relates and resonates with us. And then if you have any questions, throw them down there, and we'll try and get to them. So Asma, jumping back to our, the second part of One Life is what we call our One Life Core 4. And once someone has kind of started their roadmap, or at least created their path and knows what they're going to be doing, that's not the end of the journey. And what you've kind of realized is that it's an ongoing journey, and it's a journey that never never really ceases. And so what we found is that in order to really create fulfillment, there are four pillars, if you will, our core four that go into it. Creating a vision, having that plan for your future. Your finances, making sure that you have an ability to pay and fund for your dream. Relationships, and this includes both intimate, familial relationships, mentors, but then also who's in your posse and who's in your community. And the last one is wellness, and we talk about taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. And so I would love to know how, what's interesting is I think that what you're talking about impacts all four of these core pillars, or I can see a way that it can. But I'm curious for you, when you think about a vision, finances, relationship, and wellness, which ones resonate with what you're doing, or how does what you're talking about and getting in tune with your body and knowing your emotions, do those impact any of those other pillars?
Everything is interconnected, like in a way that it's like the example that I gave of when I was able to climb my first mountain, right? When I started that business from my zone of excellence, right? Like I had a vision then and the finances were good. But then when I was connecting to the relationship with myself and if I was fulfilled, and then the wellness piece was not there, I was burned out. And so I definitely was able to climb the mountain, but then after a certain point, I needed to look hard on who I am and be honest with myself, like, is this what I want? And we talk about this in emotional intelligence, that like for leaders to be really successful in their job is to do a 360 feedback loop, because that way people are also seeing for themselves, they are seeing how other people perceive them, because that's also as important as how they perceive others or how they perceive themselves, right? So that 360 loop. So I kind of did that for myself, like when I was up at that first mountain. But then when I realized that two of those pillars were missing, that's when I went into this discovery, and I was ready to go back and like go and now and climb my second mountain, which is for a lot of people, that's the truth. Like the second mountain, that's when you realize your life purpose or your soul purpose or your dharma. And you're like, okay, life happens for me, not to me. So everything that happened here, I can use that. I can like, it's gonna fuel me and it's gonna serve me and help me get to my second mountain faster if I have the courage to decide to go the other way, and being okay with the unknown and being okay to whatever needed to unfold when it needed to unfold, right? So that's the other thing. Like when you're like, I need to get there by this time, but this deadline, that's not gonna work, right? And so it was true that. So with fire and flow, all of those four core elements are together. The vision is clear. I want to create a harmony of fire and flow in the world. So I loved in the beginning when you said you're helping women, but they're men too. 100%. When I work with people, like I always talk about our energies, the feminine and the masculine energies. And when I talk about those as energies, like regardless of the gender, we all have those two energies. And for women, they just have more of them, but we've been oppressed for years and centuries that those were not good. But you know what? Now there's the rise of feminine. There's the rise of feminine leadership in terms of people wants to be seen, heard, appreciated. There's collaboration, there's innovation, there are things that are all feminine trait that now needs to be added into our companies and our organizations, our government, in order for people feel like there's that sense of belonging and connection that everybody's craving right now, right? And so the vision is very clear. With the finances, which is very interesting, is that in how I am excited to serve those women because I know that the transformation is real. So I don't know if you can even use that word. It's like the money is sweeter, right? Because it's not just like me doing something specific to deliver an outcome, but it's like I am now delivering a transformation, right? And it's like a co-creation. It's a collaboration. We're doing it together. So it's this beautiful like dance that we are doing and helping that transformation to occur. And with every client that I'm coaching, that I'm working with, I am also learning and growing as I am coaching them as well, right? So that constant loop. With relationships, 100%. I keep growing by connecting deeper with myself, with my body, and with who I am. And the more I uncover who I am and I have that self awareness, I am able also to create that social awareness with other people. And also, like the last pillar of wellness, it's all about self love and more like connecting to our body, mind, and spirit and bring on all those together. So, through the work that I do a lot, is I'm really trying to get people to get out of their head and drop into their heart because I really want them to come this because a lot of us work this side, right? And so the side is always cut. Like people are never have the chance to drop into their heart. But at the moment they do, and the moment they start feeling more, the moment they can uncover what are their wounds and or what are their triggers that they can be able like to heal for themselves and witness and create, so that way they will be able to create the life that they want, because a lot of the things that happen to us is in an unconscious level. So until we get that awareness about it, like we cannot happen. So I love the four pillars because they are fully connected. And thank you for allowing me to do the exercise with fire and flow, because now I'm like, oh, none of the pillar is missing now, like comparing to my first mountain, right?
Yeah, thank you, Asma. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy that you can be here to share all of your brilliance with our community. I love what you said about the second mountain. And what if there's a third mountain? Like I would love for you to share a little bit, particularly due to where we are. As we look at our lives and we have one mountain, then we have two mountains, and then we think, wait a minute, I thought that I was supposed to be grown. And like I was supposed to already know what I'm going to do, and now this whole 2020 happens, and and what about those people who feel that they're back at the drawing board? Like, how many more mountains are there? So can you talk and share a little bit about, share with someone who might be at that place where they're looking up at that second mountain and thinking, all right, one, I didn't know it was here, and two, what am I supposed to do? And even, what if I don't want to? What do I do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I can only speak for my truth, right? That in terms of that, I realized that there was a second mountain, and when I looked at it, it looks very daunting because you're like, but I already got here. I was already successful. I created everything. And now I have to go back and start all over again. And people don't know me in this sphere. They like I have to recreate everything. So the ego takes a big hit, right? And you lose your expert status. And there's so many things that you lose along the way because now you'll need to go into this more spiritual mountain, or because now it's more connected to who you are. And so it always comes down to choice, right? So it always comes down to choice, to what the person wants to do. It's always easier to go back, It's always easier to go backwards. And the way the mind is set is like it will always take you back to what's comfortable. And so that's why it's really hard for people to make new decisions, because they can only make them based on what happened before, because they don't know what will happen next will be 100% better than what was before. And so it's that fear that they're afraid of. So for those people that are in that state of like, I am here, I'm looking at the mountain, because I was them not even like a year ago looking at them like, seriously, I have to do this again? Like, it's really like sitting down with the emotions and be like, is it right now or is it later? So the timing also matters. And also, am I ready for it or not? And the other questions I was asking myself, I'm like, okay, my first mountain, what worked, what didn't work? Oh, what didn't work is I told myself I can do it all on my own. I didn't need anyone. This second mountain, I am not climbing it alone. I need a tribe. Uh, I have trust issues before. Sure, great. That's a wound pattern. Let's cut that pattern. Let's create this beautiful, incredible, deep, meaningful relationship with people. And now let's grow together and let's collaborate and let's get to that second mountain. And so I am taking the learnings from my first mountain and using what works and what didn't work and how I want to change it into creating my ideal second mountain. And the second mountain doesn't need to be that hard. Maybe it already have some stairs, like it already have some like a path that's already been laid out by a mentor or by a tribe like One Life that already created the pillars and like here are the things. Like people, you don't have to look further. It's vision, talent, opportunities. It's right there in order for you to fit fulfillment. Let's help you get there now, so that way your second mountain you'll climb it faster, right? So that's when communities like One Life or I'm trying to create with Fire and Flow is really important, because you're able to create that support system for the people to tell them, you know what, you will create something even better because you've learned so much from your first mountain. And here's the good news, you don't have to do it alone. We're here with you and we'll support you in that, because even now there's that rise of the feminine, which is all about collaboration and support and connection and relationship. So let's do it together and build it together, you know? And so that's what I will say to those people. But deeply at the end of the day, it's them connecting with themselves, connecting with their body, and be like, is it right now or is it later? And what do I need in order for me to not feel that this second mountain is daunting? Because it doesn't need to be daunting, right? It's a mountain. It could be any size it wants. And it doesn't matter. Maybe like it will be shorter, but the view is incredible, because maybe that's all you ever wanted. You never wanted to go to the top of that mountain and then you'll have a hard time breathing. Maybe you just wanted this mountain to have a beautiful view and have all your family and your friends with you that can hike it with you, and you're all together at the summit and you're amazing and you're happy. Because everybody has a different definition of success. And a lot of people, when I ask them, what is your definition of success? A lot of them like, what do you mean? Like, what is your definition of success? Like, well, I'm like, yeah, you think it's having money and having whatever society decided, like the precondition you have, but like deep down, when you think about it, what is your definition of success? And then people, surprisingly enough, they will say a lot of things that has nothing to do with money, because that's why you realize when you have the money, but you're not doing the things that fulfill you, you'll be miserable. But the moment you do something fulfilling and you're getting paid for it, it's like what I said earlier. I've never thought about it before. The money is just sweeter. It's just something is just different. It's just like more fun and more joyful, because your impact is there. The impact is way more important than just like a financial gain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Asma, I'd like to get into a little bit of the tactics, because I know that's one thing that we've always tried to bring at One Life is more than just rah and getting people excited, because the real work is done when this conversation ends. The real work is done in between these conversations. And it's interesting having my own realizations. I remember waking up in high school, before a big test or a big game, and my stomach was in knots and I was bent over the toilet the whole morning. And I was looking for outside reasons, like I was looking outside of how I can fix it, or it would never occurred to me that if I were to do something internally, or if I were to be, just look inside, that would be, that there would be a solution there, or that, I could actually get through it. And same thing when my kids are being born, I'm by the toilet, like, it hasn't necessarily gone away, but now I'm able to realize it a little bit more and kind of have the tools to work through it. So when you think about your toolkit, right? When you think about, when you go into your bag of tools, I'd love for you to share about some of those tools and maybe even whether it was your own breakthrough or someone else's breakthrough, of something that I find that I can imagine so many of our listeners are looking externally for the answers when there's probably something that they could do for themselves that might fix some of these things. So can you speak to that and some of the tools that might help people in some of these situations?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of them. I'm very pragmatic in my teaching. So one of the first things I want to share is that when you think about emotions, like the normal person knows 12 emotions. There are over 3,000 out there. And so it starts with us enriching our own emotional vocabulary. And there is a different, like everybody will say, I am angry, I am mad, I am terrified, I am proud, I am confident, I'm in love, right? So there's always this emotion that you hear over and over again, but they're deeper than that. They're like, I feel content, I feel interested, I feel happy, I feel joyful, I feel confident, I feel scorn, I feel fearful, I feel like there's so many emotions out there. And so by starting to just enriching the vocabulary and just taking the dictionary and trying to read what each emotion means, and then really sitting with yourself and be like, what is it that I'm feeling in this moment? Like, is it I am fearful or I am terrified? It's really starting to look at the dictionary and reading the descriptions and be like, yeah, no, this connects more with what I'm feeling at this moment than this word. And really starting to just use and challenge yourself to use words that are really deeply connected with what you're feeling in that moment. So that would be my first tip to do, is to enrich your vocabulary. The second one has to do with identity, right? And each one of us has an identity, right? And most of us connect our identity to who we are. And I love when Tony Robbins talks about thermostat. And so the identity thermostat of someone could be 90 degrees. And as soon as they try and head and be like, okay, I'm determined, I'm going to be able to create this, I'm going to go here. And then maybe they up their thermostat to 120, 140. Their mind's like, hey, you're not supposed to go there, come back here, right? And then it starts to bring them back. And then same thing, when you go down your first mountain and COVID hits and everything happened, your thermostat was 90, now it's 40, right? And then you go down, now you're having a hard time going back up to your starting quote to where you were at. And so there is that element of identity that we need to learn to master for ourselves. And when you do that, one of the things that gets you there is this very simple mistake that people make, where they are talking about emotions. They're saying, I am angry, I am fearful, I am terrified, I am proud. And they're connecting the emotion to their identity, which is not the truth, because emotions are just messages that we're receiving from the body to give us this awareness about something specific, and they change. You can literally, at this moment, if I ask you, Hector or Carolyn, what are you feeling? I'm sure you will have 5, 6. If I challenge you to list 6 emotions, you will be able to list 6 emotions at the same time, right? Because that's how incredible we are as human beings. And so it is very important to then say, I feel proud, I feel fearful, I feel content, I feel interested, I feel happy. And just changing that vocabulary to I feel an emotion versus I am. Because when you state it as an I am, you're subconsciously, and I am is a very, very powerful affirmation, as we all know it. And so when you state it as I am, it's like you connect it to your identity. And so when you're talking, say, I feel I feel joyful. I feel peaceful. I feel abundant. I feel successful. I feel beautiful. There's all these emotions. And then when you state it from that place, you know that it's a feeling that you can have on demand, that you can grow it, right? Like I love to give this example from Kyle Cease when he says, okay, Hector, you just won $20 million. I literally have your check right here. You literally just won 20 millions. Like if someone says that to you, you will be happy, you'll be ecstatic, you'll jump off the hoops. You're like, oh my God, what? I won 20 million? How did that happen? Like, oh my God, this is so great. You never got the money. You never seen the check. You just got the news. But the truth is, all that feeling, that celebration, you had it already within yourself. It didn't come from outside. It was already within. But because someone gave you that scenario, you were able to tap into it on demand and faster. And so it's that type of emotional fitness that we need to be able to get to. It's like, what are the emotions I want to feel and how I can bring them to myself on demand, right? So that will be like the third tool. Like first one is to enrich your vocabulary. Second one, to separate I am versus I feel. And the third one is to be able like to fully connect and have those emotions and believe 100% believe that they are within yourself. They are always there, and you just need to tap into them to access them on demand. Um, and then the fourth element I want to share, it's about conversations and about relationships. The truth is, we all make assumptions about everything. And so whether I feel angry or I feel happy or I feel this, it's because I think of something. Like I feel grateful when I think that this podcast gonna reach a lot of people that need to hear this message today or this year. So I am making the assumption of what is that feeling of gratefulness they connected to, right? Somebody could say, I feel angry when I think that my husband puts me second and I'm not his priority, right? I feel this when I think this. And so there are two things that happen in this moment. When you state an emotion and you connect it to an emotion, to an assumption, you are creating pathways in your brain that are able like to connect your right brain with your left brain because you're connecting an emotion to a situation. And second, what you are doing in that moment is it's an assumption that you need to confirm with someone. And so that involves having a conversation. And it could be a loving conversation, even if it's a difficult conversation, but bringing it from this place of love. If someone comes to me and says, I feel unhappy when I think you didn't call me on Thanksgiving, Asmaa, I won't feel attacked because one, they started the conversation with I, and they said, I feel, and then they stated an assumption that they want to confirm. And that allows me the opportunity for me to reply and be like, I am so sorry. Yesterday, I was so busy with my family that I completely forgot about our call. I'll be more than happy to talk to you today, anytime you want. And I'll even add like an extra 30-minute bonus for our coaching. I am so sorry that I missed that. So that allows me and gives me the opportunity to answer them, get back to them. But at the same time, they were able to speak their truth, right, in that moment. And so these are few tools that I just shared, four of them, that will just, if people like start using them like slowly, like maybe every day, they can just like took the dictionary and learn one word and just start practicing that word. Like I feel like I never knew what scorn meant. And it was really hard for me to like, I feel scorn when I think like, okay, right? And then start taking some words and like start using them. Like I feel this when I think this, and just start playing each day with a different word. Like that will enrich your vocabulary and will allow you to connect deeply with yourself and create that self-awareness within yourself and be able also to read the room better because now you will know what people maybe are feeling or not feeling because you are being able to tap into your own emotions.
Yeah, as you were talking, it doesn't have 3,000, but there is there's an emotion wheel, which I think gives people a very, at least it helped me and just kind of conceptualize the way that emotions are kind of close, but different from other emotions. And so she mentioned, up here, how optimism is different from serenity, and how optimism is different from joy. And so I think that, you know, that's a great tool. And for me has already given me a lot of clarity as well. We had a comment here from Nuno Lobato, I think is a new member of the community, who said this is an interesting conversation. So I want to thank you.
Thank you
for sharing some of that. And if you guys have any last minute questions, throw them down there. Carolyn, is there anything else that you wanted to get into before we kind of round this conversation out?
I just really enjoy how in sync your messages with the One Life message, and exactly hearing your journey of fulfillment and how you are helping others find their fulfillment, and truly looking from the inside in order to get through their second, third, fourth mountain, whatever that is. And but then bringing to the forefront the power within, that fire, so that you can be fulfilled. I absolutely enjoy you. I enjoy your message, and you're so many people that you can help move forward on their journey, or like what we like to say, on their roadmap.
Beautiful.
I'll throw the same question to you, Asmaa, and say, is there anything that hasn't been said today that should be said, or is there anything that you wanted to make sure that we touched on?
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind right now is I would love people to embrace and enjoy as much as their light as well as their shadow. A lot of people, like when they feel a specific type of emotion, they become very hard on themselves. It's like, I should not be feeling this, and I'm feeling this, or I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm feeling like, and then start using that I am again, right? Like from that identity standpoint. But the idea here is, in our journey of healing, we need to be able to enjoy and appreciate our shadow. Because the thing that happened is, when an emotion shows up, that means that it's ready to be let go. Like when a very strong emotion shows up to you, that means like, okay, it's in your awareness. So see it, feel it, embrace it, and then witness it, and then let it go, right? Because at that moment, it's ready to be let go. A lot of people, when we talked earlier about identity, is when they get stuck to one specific type of emotion, and they keep them with them for weeks, for days, for months, for years, and that emotion becomes their identity. Like me, when I was younger, I am angry, right? That anger was like my identity then, and I was wearing it as a badge of honor. But then I learned from amazing, incredible people like Alana Pratt and other people like that were mentors that came to my life at different times. That's like, no, there's good anger, there's bad anger. So the anger could be your fuel to something better. So there's that piece there that you can become the alchemist of your own emotions, right? And that's when you tap into your feminine energy, whether you're a man or woman. That's when you'll be able, like, if you feel that anger, like put a dance song and just like dance into that anger. And then after that, the next song is like, okay, grief. Like, what is that grief I want to bring? And then the final song is like, how I can use this and make this love. And so what you will realize, and you'll be able to take whatever you felt at the beginning into transforming it into grief, into transforming it into love and appreciation and gratitude. And you did that all by yourself, because we're all powerful beings. And so appreciating our shadow is beautiful. And one of my favorite quotes is from Lady Gaga, surprisingly enough. And she says, let me find it here because I don't want to butch it out, but it's just so beautiful. If you don't have any shadows, you're not standing in the light. And so
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that. Don't be hard on yourself. There's this beautiful journey towards emotion mastery and emotional fitness that is part of our growth path to create the roadmap of our life.
Wonderful. Asmaa, this has been such a fantastic conversation. And I know that we only touched the tip, the top of the iceberg, just the snow that's melted at the top, you know.
Yes.
And I know that we could continue having and going on this conversation for hours. But if you guys want to take this deeper, I'd encourage you guys to go and download Asmaa's book. You can go to iamasma.com/onelife, and it'll give you a free download to her book, which is called The Rise of the Feminine Power, the New Way of Leading Life and Business. And I'd imagine that even if you're a guy out there, this might be helpful for you. And, or if it's there's someone that, that could benefit from it, send them the link. I threw it down in the comments there and it's pinned to the top. I'd encourage you to go follow Asmaa on Instagram and connect with her. She has a new program that's coming out soon as well, where you can work directly with her and accelerate your business. So go and check that out if you guys are interested. And she also has a Facebook group on Facebook as well. So if you guys are prefer Facebook over Instagram, I believe the group is called, I thought I saw it here. Do you want to share the group name, Asmaa?
Yeah, it's Fire and Flow Harmony.
Wonderful. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you guys have any questions, throw them down there. We'll do our best to answer them. And if you guys gained something, got a golden nugget, gained some insight or learned something new today, share those in the comments, and we'd love to know what those are as well. We are here every Tuesday helping you to dream, plan, and live your one life fully lived. And we just encourage you to go out there and keep throwing down the rope. We'll see you guys on the next one.